Hi everyone, welcome to this week's episode of Perks of Being a Teacher. On this week's episode, I'm going to be showing you 5 of my favorite teaching things. This isn't my top 5 because I'm going to be making several of these videos over the years, but today I'm going to highlight for you 5 of my favorite teaching things. So these items are not in any order whatsoever, but I'm going to start with number 1 as the game Disney Headbands. I'm going to show you a picture right here of what the game looks like. This is one of my favorite teaching items because you can use it at the end of the class, you can use it at the middle or the beginning. And all it requires is for students to want to participate. And the way that I have my whole class play this game is I will firstly demo it and I will pull one card from the Headbands game, and then the whole class will just have to shout out clues for me as to what character is portrayed on the character that I'm holding up. As they give me clues, I'll be shouting out guesses, and once I guess it correct, then that means the next student's turn. When students play, and if they guess the character correctly, then I will give them a candy or chocolate from one of the jars in my classrooms. This is an excellent way to build community as a classroom because there's no really rhyme or reason to it. Students don't have to raise their hands. It's incredibly unstructured and it does create chaos, but I love it. Students always have such a blast as they are yelling out their clues and as they're making guesses. It's always a highlight of my week to watch students play it, and after they play, they're always oh, that was so much fun, we should do it again. Or they're leaving the classroom and just talking about something funny that happened while we were playing. Number 2 is, it's actually going to be 2 programs that I use all the time to prep. So I have a Mac and I love using Pages and Keynote. All of the things that I make for teaching are made on Pages in terms of handouts that I give students or any projects I create are all made on Pages. And Keynote is what I use for any slides that I show students. So I'm going to show you what they look like directly on my computer. Here you can see that I have a couple documents open for my Pages program. So on this side I have a blank document, and on the other side you can see that I have a document that I have already created. So the reason that I really like to use Pages is I find it extremely user-friendly. The next program that I'm going to show you is Keynote. Keynote is what I use instead of PowerPoint, and it's mostly because I really like the look of Keynote in comparison to PowerPoint. Nothing against PowerPoint, I think just every person has their own individual taste of things that they prefer. So here you can see I have a document open, Advertising and Kids, which I use in my Family Studies course, and this was made in one of the Keynote templates. All I did was put in the text that I like. There's nothing really that I did with any of these slides that was different than the theme given. I like how easy it is to add video. So here you can see I've included a TED Ed video in the slide, and to add it, all you go to is Media, and you can go to, it's called Web Video, and then you would just paste the link and then it would insert the video straight into Keynote for you. To add pictures, you can drag and drop, or you can insert a picture manually. I just find it incredibly easy to use, which as teachers, I think that's primarily what we want. The third thing that is my favorite teaching thing is the program called Nearpod. And I stumbled across Nearpod when I was student teaching. It was probably a Google search of how can I learn to be a good teacher? And this website came up and they have free trials. So when I was student teaching, I was definitely using the free version of Nearpod, and then throughout the years as I started to build more and more lessons through Nearpod, I decided to pay for the subscription. So I'm going to show you on my computer what it looks like to use Nearpod, and I'm going to show you a few examples of lessons. Here you can see an example of Nearpod when you go to its homepage. So you have the option of signing up for free if you're a teacher or logging in. Since I already have an account, I'm going to log in. Once you log in, this is what the page looks like if you already have a Nearpod account. I have a variety of lessons. Some are made by students and some are made by me. I love using Nearpod for students as projects because it allows them to create a lesson that includes a variety of activities, which is great for them to create, but also it's excellent for students to participate in who are watching their presentation. I'm going to show you an example of a lesson that I have created. So here's a lesson that I have created, and it's very easy to add content by clicking on the square right here. So add content and activities. So you have the option of adding slides, adding videos, web content, which could be like a website, Nearpod 3D, simulations. The virtual field trips are so much fun. BBC has a huge bank of videos, and so on. Activities are what amps up these lessons in comparison to other programs or regular lessons that exist. Time to Climb is a fun quiz game which has students answering questions. If you're familiar with Kahoot, it's just like that. However, the teacher does not need to click next for every question. It's self-guided, which is awesome for teachers because it lets you just like walk around the classroom instead of being glued to the computer. There's open-ended questions, matching pairs, quizzes, draw its, which are so much fun, collaborate boards, which are very similar to Padlet format, polls, fill in the blanks, and more. These activities are what makes Nearpod lessons really stand out. In this lesson, you can see that I have some slides and I also have some activities. I'm going to click on preview so that you can see what the lesson would look like for students. For students to log into a lesson when you are teaching, it just projects a code. Again, similar to Kahoot, they enter the code and then they're in the lesson and they can see it on their devices. It works on tablets, iPads, phones, or computers. And this was just one example of many lessons that I have created on Nearpod. If you have questions about Nearpod, comment below and I'm always happy to help you out. The fourth item that is one of my favorite teaching things is a planner that I use. This planner is from Chapters Indigo, and I've never had a planner like this before. I saw it in the summer and I thought, oh, like I think this would fit the style that I use to record teaching things and things going on in my life. So I'm going to show you what it looks like, and this is kind of like a very like brief like spring break plans that I have. So I like this planner because on the side, like normally when I'm teaching, so like right now I'm filming actually during spring break, but on the side I would write down like the times, and while I'm teaching that would be like the times of classes and then the times for the lunch hour and like after school, like if I have any meetings or like events going on. So here you can see like for spring break, like I've just like written in the times that I have like different things going on. But I really like it because it's perforated, so you can easily tear off the sheet once a week is done. And then once you tear off the sheet, then it would show you obviously like the next week. So here you can see I have not filled out my plan yet for next week. That's actually like on the docket for today to work a little bit on prepping for when I come back. But what I would do is write on the side the times of my classes, and if there's any like important reminders for classes, then I would write that for the time for each class. At the very, very top, I reserve that space for like any morning reminders. Like let's say I need to remember to pack something for my classes that day, or if I have something going on like first thing in the morning, I would write a reminder like right near the top. And I always have a spot for lunch, and in the lunch space I record if I have any like meetings going on at lunch. And then at the bottom, that would be like after school things that I have. So maybe again, like maybe I have meetings, or maybe like I have some errands to run after work, like that would be the space that I would write that in. The notes section, I use this for any just like general reminders for the week, or things that I need to get done. Like it can be like a little bit of a to-do list that I keep here at the bottom. And yeah, it's something that really works well for me. I'm looking forward to this summer to actually trying to create like my own template, because there are like some small things I would change about it, but overall it's been really successful this year as I've been planning my weeks. And number 5. So this is the last item of this week's episode. So the last item is a book, and I'm just gonna bring it up close. It's called As We Have Always Done by Leanne Simpson. And this book was introduced to me when I was doing my master's in education. It was just like a one chapter that was shared with us. And after reading that one chapter, like I wanted to read the rest of the book. And I mean, there are tons of books that I think are really, really valuable for teachers. So this is not the only one, but this is one of the many books that I think are valuable for teachers. And I think it's valuable because it helps to educate teachers on not just like looking at the past experiences of Indigenous peoples and their students in front of them, but it looks forward as to like not reconciliation, but the strength of Indigenous peoples and the strength in their resistance and their fight for freedom. And I think that the more we read as teachers, the more we become educated on how to better serve the students in front of us, which definitely includes our Indigenous students in front of us. So if you're looking for something to read and you're a teacher and really like anyone can benefit from reading this book, then I would definitely encourage you to buy yourself a copy. Okay, so that wraps up 5 of my favorite teaching things. I really hope that you enjoyed this week's episode. As always, subscribe and comment below if you liked or like disliked any of the items that I shared. If you tried any of the items, please let me know, and stay tuned for next week's episode on Perks of Being a Teacher. Bye everybody.